Hey friends, it's James. If you've ever stood in front of a struggling plant and immediately thought, I need to do something right now, I understand, I really do. Because when we care about something, when we've spent money on it, time on it, hope on it, and we begin to sense that it might be in trouble, our instinct is often to rush in and try to fix it. We move in, we water it, we stop watering it, we repot it, we fertilize it, we trim it, we inspect it, we change the light. We start changing everything. And I think most of us do that from a sincere place. We do it because we care. But we also do it because we're uncomfortable. We're anxious. We want relief. We want proof that we can help. We want to feel like we're not just standing there watching something decline. And what I want to suggest in this video is that one of the most common ways plant parents unintentionally make things worse is by trying to fix things too quickly. Not because action is bad, but because plants move at a pace much slower than the one most of us are used to living at. And if we don't learn how to slow ourselves down enough to match that pace, enough to observe, enough to stay steady, enough to let one intervention have time to work, we can very quickly end up adding more stress to an already stressed plant. So today I want to talk about that, about patience, about careful observation, about how urgency can quietly turn into anxiety, and about why one of the most loving things you can do for a struggling plant is not always to rush in and fix it. Sometimes it is to pause. And I think this matters for reasons that go beyond plant care. Because in so many parts of life, when something we care about feels fragile, our instinct is to control instead of understand it. And often, real care asks for something harder than control. It asks for steadiness. It asks us to tolerate uncertainty long enough to notice what is actually happening. And that, to me, is one of the deeper lessons plants can teach us. In an earlier video, I talked about confidence as a plant parent. And one of the things I tried to name there is that confidence is not the same thing as knowing everything. Confidence is relationship. It grows through attention. It deepens over time. It gets stronger when we stay engaged. And I think one of the clearest signs that confidence is maturing is this. You stop reacting to every sign of trouble as though it requires immediate intervention. You begin to understand that not every problem is solved by doing more. Sometimes it's solved by doing less, more deliberately. Sometimes your plant does not need a rescuer. Sometimes it needs a witness, someone willing to slow down, observe carefully, make a thoughtful adjustment, and then wait long enough to see what happens. That kind of patience can feel very unnatural at first, especially in a culture that trains us to expect instant feedback. If we change something on our phone, we see the results immediately. We order something, we expect it in a day. If we ask a question, we expect an answer in seconds. But plants do not live by those rhythms. A plant may take weeks to show you whether your change actually helped it. And if you make 3 more changes in the meantime, you may lose the ability to know what mattered at all. So the argument I want to make today is this. When your plant looks stressed, the goal is not to relieve your anxiety as quickly as possible. The goal is to understand what the plant is experiencing as carefully as possible. Those are not always the same thing, and when we confuse them, we can get ourselves into trouble. Because anxiety loves action. Anxiety wants movement. It wants certainty. It wants to feel useful right away. But good plant care often begins somewhere quieter. It begins with restraint. It begins with a willingness to say, I am noticing that something is off. I care very much about it. And before I start to change everything, I'm going to look more closely. To me, that is not passive. That is one of the most mature forms of care. Let me give you a really concrete example from my own life. I have a rather large bird's nest fern in my living room. And from time to time, I'll notice something that catches my attention. It will go from sending out these gorgeous, healthy green fronds to sending out new fronds with brown, crispy edges. If you've ever grown a fern, especially a larger one, you know how easy it is to start spinning out when that happens. Because immediately your mind starts racing. Is it too much light? Not enough humidity? Inconsistent watering? Too much fertilizer? Staying wet for too long? Pest pressure? And here's the thing so many people seem to forget too often. A new frond does not appear, unfurl, and mature overnight. It can take weeks, which means if I decide the issue might be light and I move the fern or soften the light it's getting, I cannot expect instant feedback. I have to let time pass. I have to hold the other variables as steady as I can and wait to see what the next frond or two looks like. And if after several weeks I still see the same pattern, then maybe I move on to the next most likely explanation. Maybe I start looking more closely at the moisture consistency. Maybe I notice the soil is staying damp for too long. Maybe I reevaluate the fertilizer. Maybe I look more carefully for pests. But what I cannot do, not if I actually want to learn anything, is change the light, change the watering, repot the fern, fertilize it differently, move it to a different room, and then start treating for pests all in the same week. Because then I'm no longer caring for the plant through observation, I'm just cycling through my own panic. And I say that with a lot of compassion, because I know what that panic feels like. When you love a plant, it is hard to tolerate watching it struggle. It can feel almost cruel to wait. But sometimes waiting is exactly what allows you to care more wisely. One of the most useful skills a plant parent can build is learning how to change one variable at a time whenever possible. Not because life is always neat, it isn't. And not because plant care is a perfect laboratory experiment, it's not. But because if your goal is to understand cause and effect, then scattering your attention across too many interventions at once makes that almost impossible. This is true in gardening, it's true in houseplant care, and honestly, I personally think it's true in a lot of life. If a plant is stressed and you make one thoughtful change, then observe, you are giving yourself a chance to learn. And if you make 6 changes in 2 days, you might get lucky, but you might also just confuse the plant and yourself at the same time, and that confusion can become its own cycle. Because once we lose clarity, we often compensate by becoming even more reactive. Then the plant declines more, then we panic more, then we intervene more, then the plant becomes even more stressed. And before long, what may have begun as a manageable problem has become a spiral. Not always because the original issue was so severe, but because we did not leave enough stillness in our response to understand what is really going on. Now, I do want to be clear about something. I am not saying you should never intervene. I am not saying you should just sit back and watch a plant collapse when there are obvious things to investigate. There can be a hierarchy here, right? There are informed guesses you can make. There are patterns you can recognize, questions you can ask that make your observation much more thoughtful. What changed recently? Was it the light? Temperature, routine, watering frequency? Is the issue localized or is it widespread? Is new growth affected? Is it old growth or both? Are there signs of pests? What do the roots look like if root trouble is truly expected? How wet is the soil actually staying? How long has the plant been in this potting mix? Is it actively growing or has growth slowed seasonally? And this is where experience matters. It's also where community can be incredibly helpful because someone else may have had that exact same experience with the exact same plant. They may be able to say, oh yeah, mine did that when the light got too strong, or that happened to me when the center stayed too wet. And that kind of shared learning can save you weeks. But even then, even when you have a strong hypothesis, you still often need to give the plant time to respond. And that part cannot be rushed. I think one of the reasons this matters so much is that patience is not just a gardening skill. It is a relational skill. In healthy relationships, we do not usually create trust by reacting dramatically to every sign of discomfort. We create trust by learning how to stay present, regulate ourselves, and respond proportionately. That does not mean inaction. It means measured action. It means understanding that another being may need time, consistency, steadiness, and space more than they need our intensity. And I think many of us, if we're honest, bring a lot of our own nervous energy into plant care. Not because we're bad people, but because this is what it means to care in a fast-moving world. We become accustomed to immediate control. Plants gently refuse that. They ask something else of us. Observation, consistency, patience, humility. And when we can practice those things with plants, I think it can be deeply empowering because we begin to realize we are capable of remaining steady in the face of uncertainty. And that is not a small kind of growth. So if the answer is not to rush in and fix everything, what do I actually recommend? I would say first, pause. Pause long enough to describe the problem clearly. Not just, it looks bad, but what exactly are you seeing? Brown edges, yellowing lower leaves, droop, mushy stems, curling spots, stalled growth. The more precise you become, the calmer and more useful your thinking tends to get. Second, identify the most likely variable before changing anything. Not every possibility, the most likely one. Third, if the intervention is not time sensitive, change one thing and let it breathe. This is where plant care really starts to feel different from panic management. You are no longer trying to feel better instantly, you are trying to understand what actually helps. Fourth, document what you're seeing. Take a photo, write the date down, make a note of what you changed. And if you don't have a garden or plant care journal to record things like this, now might be a good time to start one, because this is one of the easiest ways to build confidence over time. It helps you see patterns instead of relying only on memory. And fifth, if you are stuck, ask for help before you start making random changes. This is part of why community matters so much. Sometimes what we really need is not another frantic intervention. Sometimes we need someone to look with us and say, hey, slow down, here's what I notice. That alone can change everything. I also want to say something that I think is important, especially for people who are trying very hard and still sometimes lose plants. Even if the plant does not make it, the process can still be a win if you learn something from the experience. I know that may sound strange at first because of course we want our plants to live, but if you are able to identify what in the environment or in your care may have contributed to the plant's decline, whether that was inconsistent watering, poor drainage, too much light, not enough light, pest pressure, or simply not noticing sooner, that knowledge matters. It matters because it changes the next relationship. It makes you a more attentive plant parent going forward, and to me, that is the opposite of failure. There may be some grief, perhaps, disappointment, certainly, but not failure. Failure would be rushing so frantically that you never learn anything at all. And I think that can be one of the tragedies in this hobby. Not that people lose plants, but that sometimes they lose the lesson too, because they were moving too quickly to even see it. This is one of the reasons I care so much about building spaces where people can troubleshoot together. Because not everyone has a neighbor who gardens. Not everyone has a group text full of plant friends. Not everyone belongs to a community garden where they can walk over and ask someone what they think. And yet, so much plant wisdom has always been shared in exactly those ways. Person to person, story by story. This is part of what we're trying to build inside Pistils and Pollen. In the free community inside the app, people are sharing their questions, their wins, their setbacks, and their observations. And inside Plant Pals, we go even deeper with a more intentional rhythm of support, conversations, online live meetups, and shared learning. And one of the things I love most about spaces like that is that they help people stop feeling like every plant problem has to be solved alone. Sometimes the most transformative thing is just being able to post a photo and say, here's what I'm seeing. What do you notice? That kind of shared observation can help bypass a lot of unnecessary anxiety. But even more importantly, it helps train your eye. And over time, that becomes confidence. I think what plants are always inviting us toward is a slower kind of wisdom, not passivity, not helplessness, not neglect, but a more careful relationship to time, attention, and care. And in a world that rewards urgency, instant reaction, and the appearance of control, that can feel almost radical. To say, I care enough to pause, I care enough to observe, I care enough to not confuse action with wisdom, I care enough to let one small change have time to work. That is a deeply grounded kind of care. And the beautiful thing is, the more you practice it, the more empowered you become, because you stop being ruled by the panic of the moment. You become someone who can assess, someone who can stay steady, someone who can intervene thoughtfully, someone who knows that the health of a relationship, even with a plant, is not built through frantic rescue, but through presence. And that, at least in my opinion, is real growth. So if you've been feeling the urge to rescue every struggling plant as quickly as possible, I want to gently encourage you to take a breath. Look closer. Maybe consider changing less, but doing so more thoughtfully. And if you want a place where you can learn to do that alongside other people, where you can ask questions, compare notes, share photos, and grow your confidence in community, I'd love to invite you into Pistils and Pollen. You can join our free plant care community right inside the app and begin right where you are. And if you want to go deeper, Plant Pals membership is there for you too. Either way, you do not have to figure all of this out alone.